Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask. Today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is What's My Legal Rights? Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask. Today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is What's My Legal Rights? And we have a wonderful returning guest, certified elder care law attorney, Jim Schuster. Good morning, Jim.
Well, it's so good to be back with you, Marsha. Thank you for the invitation.
You know, Jim, it wasn't just my invitation. It was the public's outcry saying, can that guy come back, the one who knows all about the elder care law?
Well, I'm happy to be here and share my knowledge with the listeners. So
Okay, so Jim, you know, it's been a while since we've seen you, and the last time you were here, we talked about the 5 most common mistakes that people make with their children being on their bank accounts and so forth.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, so we want to start off with, you know, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go right into a subject today.
Yeah, well, the field of practice I'm in is called elder law. I mean, that's what lawyers call it, but elder care says the same thing. It's really about, as some attorneys would say, the aging journey. And as we get older, even though we try very hard not to, we do need more and more help. Maybe it's doctor's help, maybe it's children's help, but we need more help as we go through our aging journey, and that's what I help people with, guide them through.
Okay. So on today's guide, I know a lot of people always are concerned about estate planning. What is estate planning?
Well, estate planning is commonly practiced. It means it's about death and taxes. It's all about when you die, who gets what, and oh, by the way, will I be paying any taxes? Now, elder law is a little different from that because we talk about the aging journey before death. We talk about, well, what's going to happen to me when I need help? What if I have to move out of my house? What if I need my government benefits? What if I need my son or daughter to help me out? What if I go to one of those assisted living? And all these questions that come up, and that's where we help people out.
Okay. Because a lot of people are not sure, should they have a will?
Well, absolutely. You know, a will is a standard, if you will, a standard item of any estate planning or even life planning package. Everybody should at least have a simple will. But once again, there are special cases I always like to talk about. And so while everybody should have a will, there's some people who really need to pay special attention. And let me just give you a couple examples, okay? What if a parent decides, for whatever reason, she wants to give one child more than another?
Okay.
By the way, then that should be stated in the will. Now, for example, what if we had a child who had a loan? Maybe, mama helped him with his deposit on his house. Well, the daughter just didn't need that help. So when mama dies, daughter says, well, you got $25,000. I didn't get $25,000. Or how about, oh, well, mama loaned you $10,000. Did you pay it back? It's, oh, yeah, I paid it back. Oh, mama always told me you didn't. So these kind of issues, whenever there's unequal treatment, maybe one child is, let's say, has just grown apart from the family and the parent elder hasn't seen him for years, she might cut him out. And, you know, when people die, here comes the whole crowd, the flock back with their little hands out. So I think the moral, I just try to give a couple of cases like loans or for whatever reason, maybe one child's successful, so we'll give him less and the daughter, more because she hasn't had a good lot in life. Her husband was a rotter, whatever.
Okay. He was a rotter, okay.
The elder should address these, especially. So if you have that special kind of cases, make sure you really take care of it because as I always say, you don't want the children to deliver the bad news. You should be the parent, and you should be the one who delivers the news.
Now, do you think because parents normally don't deliver that kind of news, should they put it in writing and have it, so that when the will is being read or information is being conveyed to the children about the parents, say income or their benefits and things, that, oh yeah, by the way, this was in the will that your father said or your mother said. Because like you said, the mother may have loaned the son $25,000, but is it written somewhere? And if she did write it and say, loan Junior $25,000 in 2015, then she dies in 2018, and here they are.
Yeah.
So
see, that kind of thing is very, let's just look at that one little example. You and I know any parent can choose to give anything she wants or he wants away. I gave my car to him because I wanted to, and I'm not giving you a car. Don't expect that. I just wanted to give it him. So she could has said to that son, yes, I loaned you $20,000, but I decided it's a gift, and I gave it to you, and I'm sorry, I don't think that I need to give your sister an equal gift. So the message should always come from the parent. The legal way to do it is through the will. That's the formal legal document. We suggest that if a parent's going to treat children unequally during a lifetime, she should speak to them and saying, this is what I want to do. I have my reasons. I want you to respect my wishes.
Okay. Because I'm afraid a lot of parents, especially, we'll use an example of low income to moderate income families. They don't do wills so much, okay?
Yeah.
But yet the mother is ill. It's 5 daughters, and all of a sudden everybody comes from a different state, and it was only one that was the caregiver, but the other 4 come in and say, well, we need to take care of mom. But the one's been doing the job all along.
Yeah.
Should it be in writing that one should benefit from the fact that they gave up part of their lives to help the parent, and they stayed in that house with the parent, and then the other 4 come in out of the blue, and the parent passes? Should they look at it like that, or?
I would say absolutely yes. Now, there's a number of different ways that can be addressed. I really recommend that parents take a responsibility, and if, like you said, if one daughter's been like mother's right arm, there for years and years, whatever she needed, call to the cable company, to the phone company, make the medical appointments, what was the prescription, all that. And the other children are just visit on Easter and Christmas and have a nice visit. The parent really should say something. I'm giving special consideration to your sister. Also, it really should be in the will as well, because the will is the legal document. So that is a strong role. But once again, like you say, I suggest the parent, because otherwise, like you put it, here's the caregiver sister saying, well, I took care of mama, so she's giving me a big everything. The other sister saying, we're hiring lawyers, we're going to fight that.
Right. And I think a lot of children do that, not thinking that the one who's caring for the parent has took on that, that job. I mean, it's not a job, but it's a way of life that you say, well, you know what? I'm the one that doesn't have kids, and I don't have to travel. I'm going to make sure that everything's taken care of here at the house. But the kids who are traveling and have children and stuff, they don't see all the pressure.
No.
They only come in on the good times, and then in the passing, they feel like, where's mine?
That's right, Marcia. And you said it. So I think
where's mine?
We could have a whole program on this, but I think we laid the problem. Your listeners, if you're in that situation, contact an elder law attorney, contact me, whomever, but don't let that situation just go ignored.
And on top of that, if they don't want to contact an elder care lawyer, should they have something in writing from the parents to help them out?
I would say, just put it this way. Here, to my mind, is ideal. Everybody meets at the kitchen table, whether it's Christmas or whatever it is. Everybody meets at the kitchen table. We're saying mama, could be dad, sits at the top, and they talk about what's going to happen and what's our understanding. And if anything changes, then next year they have another meeting. That way, everybody's on board and they know. So if one of those children from out of state say, well, I think I should, then okay, fine. Mother or dad will visit you in your home, and you'll be take care of him or her for a month. And you'll be no vacation, 24-hour on call. And if your health starts going bad, well, you'll have to deal with it.
Right. You'll know what I know. Right.
All right.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, Jim, we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back with some more great information, elder care law. We'll be right back.
Today in America, drug and alcohol addiction is a major public health crisis. Addiction is one of the defining public health crises of our time. There is no single face of addiction. It impacts all of us and our families. Opioid overdose takes a life every 19 minutes. The time has come to improve prevention and to stop treating addiction as a moral failing. We need to start seeing it for what it is, a chronic disease of the brain that must be treated with urgency and compassion. More than 27 million people use illicit drugs or misuse prescription drugs. Over 66 million people binge drink at least once a month. Together, we can change the conversation and focus on preventing substance use disorders and connecting people who are suffering with the treatment, services, and recovery support they need. We will not hide from this issue because it's hard to talk about. Prevention works. Treatment is effective. Recovery is possible for everyone. For the first time, the United States Surgeon General has prepared a report on alcohol, drugs, and health. Our goal, to provide real hope for the millions of people and their families suffering from addiction. Together, we can prevent alcohol and drug-related addiction, and with treatment, we can give those suffering a new outlook on life. Facing Addiction in America, the Surgeon General's report on alcohol, drugs, and health. To read the report, please visit addiction.surgeongeneral.gov.
And welcome back to the second half of the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, I don't know about you, but I'm always learning something here at the Just Ask Talk Show. So, Attorney Jim Schuster, is always, every time he comes, enlightens us with a lot of wealth and helpful information in dealing with elder care law. So, one thing I do know, you can get our number at the bottom of the screen, 1-800-323-5336, Twitter, hashtag, Facebook, all the good stuff that you can contact me. And if you have a question for Attorney Schuster, we'll be more than glad to forward that question to him. Now, Jim, I had to get that out because somebody's at home watching this saying, I need to talk to that man. Yeah. Okay. But I got a question. Does everyone need a trust?
I know, I get that question a lot. And the truth is that the majority of people can do with a simple will. Now, there are special cases, I call them, where a trust really is the way you want to go. So let me just tick off some of those, and some of them are really critical. Now, the standard living trust is really great for people who have multiple real estate. So whether I own a lot of rental houses, or if I have a condo in Florida and a house in Michigan, or the cottage up north. Okay. Those are examples of people who could benefit from a living trust, because if I die and there's probate, then we do probate in Florida, we do probate in Michigan, multiple. Another person who benefit from a living trust, somebody has lots of investments, like Wall Street investments, the mutual funds or the stocks or the bonds, all that kind of stuff, because the truth is Wall Street doesn't like powers of attorney, which is your alternative to a trust during lifetime, pardon me, and at death with a living trust is so much easier to manage all that as opposed to probate. So those are good cases for a trust. Now still, if you don't mind, I'd like to say there's special life reasons why I'd want a trust. And let me just the listeners imagine some of these terrible situations. Suppose my wife has Alzheimer's, I'm taking care of her, but guess what? I have a heart condition. I'd better set up a trust to take care of her. If I die first, then she will get exactly the life that she deserves, okay? Suppose we're married with no children. I see it time and again when we have elders, who oftentimes they have taken care of their parents, and if they look behind them, there's nobody there. And did you realize that if you need help, you're very aged, need help, the probate court's the only alternative, and if you have no family whatsoever, then they're going to appoint a public guardian, and oftentimes the public guardian will pick you up, take you out of your house, drop you in an apartment or a nursing home or a locked facility, because it's less bother for them. They only have to write one check a month and their job is done. But if, many single people with no children have worked hard, saved money, and they'd say, I want to stay in my home. If you have set up a trust, you can stay in your home as long as you're alive, because the trust will say, spend my money in taking care of me in home. Okay. Now, a lot of single people also have a very strong relationship with a pet. I know a lot of single elders who their pet is almost like the reason why they're alive. True. And you probably have folks on your program here who have like dementia care. They bring in the dog or the cat in the nursing home, and the people suddenly light up. what about my pet? What about, Flossie when I die? Well, there's such a thing as a pet trust. And actually, the pet trust can even help. What if I break my hip? I'm in rehab center. I'm out of the house for 6 weeks. A pet trust can say, here's the money, here's the vet, pay the bills, take care of Flossie while I'm out of the house. Then when I come back, here she comes, and she's beautiful and well taken care of. Remember, I'm a single elder, no children. Of course, if I have friends that take care of the cat, but I understand. But I'm just saying, a pet trust can do all those wonderful things. Now,
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I didn't because but on a pet trust, does that also say the person who's caring for me must care for my pet? And is, for example, most rich people, I'll say, well, if you're taking care of my pets, even in my passing, then your salary will continue, and then when the pet passes or dies, rather, the salary stops.
Yeah, and you're right,
okay?
Marcia. There's any number of ways it can be done. Any number of ways
Okay.
it can be done. It can be done that way. It can be a stipend of $5,000 or whatever it is, or $10,000, to take care of the pet. And also, when I'm doing a trust, remember, I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking in advance, and so I'm planning these things. It's not just going to happen suddenly. So that's a part of the beauty of doing with the trust, because I engage in that process. Let me give you another very critical special case, and that's the second marriage with blended family. That means each new spouse, and let's just say, after people retire, sometimes their spouse dies, and you meet somebody else you knew from the neighborhood or church, and for a guy, her husband died, so we known each other for 50 years, we get married, but we both have children now. Everybody knows about prenups. Everybody knows about prenups. But here's a case I see real often. Suppose that we both have a house. So we only need one house to live in. We sell one house, and then we move into the other house. So suppose I move into her house. Suppose my wife, my second wife now, dies. Well, the prenup doesn't say anything about that. Now her children are saying, you got to get out of that house. That's our house now. We inherited. That's our house. I said, well, wait a minute. Your mother said I could live here, until I die. But what if I get remarried? So when you start thinking about these things, a second marriage, you start thinking about these things, you go, oh. So once again, that's a special case. All I'm trying to say is I'm not going to give you the answer. I can't today.
Well, I understand.
It's something that people, if you're in that situation, you need to see an elder law attorney.
I don't think a lot of people think that way, though, Jim, because you just, hit the nail on the head. You get married a second time, you got blended families, kids from here, kids from there, and we living in one house, whichever is the better house, and that spouse passes on, and there's the remaining spouse, and sure enough, the kids come in, especially if they don't like the new mate, and they say, well, this was my mother and father's house, and now that my mother has passed, we think that you should move on.
You're right. And let me just say, Marcia, that blood is thicker than a marriage certificate, to mix a metaphor. And what we find is, even if everybody's getting along well, right now, after death of one of the spouses, they just separate like the waters.
Yeah.
So there's the word to the... Here's and let me just say that similar situation, unmarried partners. A lot of people, in retirement don't get married because the wife will lose the pension and the Social Security from her deceased husband. So a lot of times they become partners. Well, if you think about it, these same kind of issues can happen. Can you live in the house? How long? What if you get remarried? Is that time to move out? All these issues. So unmarried partners, because I've had some clients partners for 25 years,
And the situation is just as bad as if they were married.
Yeah. So unmarried partners, that also says you got to take a hard look. Now, here's the thing that we all know about, but what's the fix? I recommend a trust. You could use a will, but here's some special cases where a simple will won't work, and as soon as I say it, everybody will say, of course, that's right. What if I have a child who's addicted alcohol, substances? We're not going to give him or her money. What if the child's in prison? If I give them money, it's going to go right to the state of Michigan. We can set up a trust for that child. What if they owe the IRS? Set up a trust. What if they're likely to go into bankruptcy again? Set up a trust. What if they're susceptible to friends manipulating them or scam artists? Set up a trust. So if we have these kind of children with these issues, a trust
Set
can
up a
fix
trust.
special cases.
Look, set up a trust. And I bet a lot of people hadn't thought about that,
No.
though, Jim, because, you know, especially you have substance abuse children, you know, are drug addicted or incarcerated, and they're your children, and you say, well, you know, when he gets out of jail, I do want him to have something, or when, you know, she gets better out of rehab, I do want her to, you know, have some money to live on, and yet they don't have a clue.
Yeah.
They need to set up a trust.
They do.
Okay, so let's go to break, ladies and gentlemen. It's not funny, but it's true. So we'll be right back, because I know you know it's true. We'll be right back.
Pull your face mask down. All right. What about the chest guard? It looks loose. Is it loose? All right, what about the shin guards? All right. Okay. Here comes the heat. Bring it in. Bring it in. Good hustle.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
And welcome back to the last half of the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know you got some questions in mind, especially those of you who have children with disabilities. So we have to ask Attorney Schuster about children with disabilities. Where do they fall in at, Jim, with the special condition grants or things like that?
Well, of all the special cases, certainly the child with disabilities is one of the biggest, most important. The reason is because many of the government programs that disabled children participate in have strict requirements about what property they can own, what income they can receive, what other benefits they can receive. Now, what's called a supplemental needs trust supplements the government benefits program, but it has to be administered by somebody who knows what the rules are. Now, we write these trusts so that they try to follow the program and explain everything to the trustees so you can read it, but it is the kind of special case where not only does the person need a supplemental needs trust, but quite frankly, they should consult with an attorney, an elder law attorney, as they go along. So they develop a relationship with the attorney. If there's a question, just pick up and call on the phone. So it's a very important special case.
Okay, because I think people have not, I'm sure some parents have and some parents haven't, really addressed the fact that they do have a disabled child that's growing up. Some, doctors may have said, it's not going to live past 10, 12, but the child has lived past 25, and the parent is aging at the same time.
Absolutely.
So that means the parent should consult with an attorney or whatever about the trust or to a continuous care for their child?
Absolutely. I mean, you're quite right, Marcia. Sometimes it is that if the parents aren't alive, the child can't live in that home anymore and has to move on. These are just huge life issues, and yes, they simply must be addressed.
Okay, and I'm sure that's pretty, emotional for a parent, especially when you first find out you have a child with a disability at a young age and you're a young parent. But then you're growing up with the child, and the child, is still living, still active and everything, and you're starting to age, and you look back and you say, all the struggles we went through, but who's going to care for my child now if something should happen to me? And
I know that's a very worrisome thought, and I can just give you the assurance there are good answers to that worry.
Yeah. Okay. And I hope we shed some light, to some people who have questions like that, because, that's one of those you just don't know which way to go.
Absolutely, and I would say we could spend literally a whole program on this subject. So while I'm treating it somewhat short, I would say now that you know that there's an issue there, contact an elder law attorney and learn what you should do, and you'll feel much more comfortable after you've done so.
Oh yeah. And now what about caregiving children?
Okay, now
when the so-called extra, like, oh, well, I should get this or I should get that.
Let me just say that caregivers, and let me just step briefly aside. When we talk about caregiving children, oftentimes we talk about should the child get a little extra recognition in the will or the trust after mom dies. Now, I just want to put a little, let's say, footnote here. If we're hiring somebody from the community and paying them cash under the table, all I can tell you is that's a no-no, because they're technically employees. You need to, as an employer, pay their FICA tax. You're their employer, Medicare, Social Security. And if they get hurt in the home, carrying the basket of laundry and trip on something and bust their ankle up, they are your worker and they get workers' compensation. So let me just say, hiring a somebody from the community in home that's a special case, not a death, will or trust special case, something you need to address legally. Let's go back to the caregiver daughter. 90% of the time, daughters. Let me just say, if anybody has any reading on elder abuse, you'll soon find one statistic. 80% of all perpetrators of abuse are family. And guess who are like 90% of all caregivers? They're family. So as a caregiver, you are a person under the law called a person of trust and confidence, and you are a perp or a suspect for elder abuse. So let's say daughter's taking care of mama, and daughter's running out of money. She, doesn't have a job. She says, "Mama, I'm going to have to get a job. My credit cards are maxed out. My car needs transmission, tires." And what if the mother says, and she says, "Mama, I can't do this. We're going to have to put you in a home or something." What's the mother going to say? "Oh, honey, can I help? Here, let me pay those bills."
Yeah.
And what's that? That is beginning to sound like financial elder abuse. What if brother comes in, his monthly visit, immediately goes to the desk and pulls up the bank statement and sees this money? And if mama has Alzheimer's or dementia, and he says, "Mother, what's all this money going out of your account? $5,000. What is all this?" And she'd say, "I don't know." And then he'd immediately accuse his sister of stealing from his mother. That's elder abuse. And guess what? The law is on his side, not hers. Okay, so if you're a caregiver, let's just say we could go on with the list of horribles. We recommend that if there's going to be a caregiver, the whole family meet at the kitchen table, or dining room table if you want, and they talk about, okay, now what if this daughter here isn't going to get a job? How is she going to pay her monthly bills?
Right.
Okay, so she isn't living in her house anymore. Well, she still has credit cards. She still has her own car. Oh, she can drive mama's car. Well, now, is she going to do all this for free 24 hours a day? Because have you checked into how expensive it is to hire somebody in home?
Right.
Agency is $20 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So this is very serious stuff. We recommend that the family have a family counsel on it. There is such a thing as a caregiver contract that Medicaid, the nursing home program, requires. We can do a will or a trust that says, here's the special recognition conditions, or maybe the daughter's going to get a payment. All those things should be addressed.
Jim, I tell you, I've got to have you come back. But you know what? I am so sorry, but I need to ask, do you still provide the free booklet?
Absolutely. We still have the what we call the Patient's Advocate's Guide. I just updated it again just this last month. The 2018 edition is out, and I'll tell you, it is the guide. If you have a parent or a family member going to the nursing home, you must have this book. It tells you everything you need to know.
And it's free.
And it's free.
I bet you guys call me. Okay. Okay. Well, Jim, I'm going to ask you, will you come back?
Absolutely. I'd be glad to.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I always try to educate you on something. I didn't have to educate you today because Jim did all the education for me. So anyhow, I want you to give us a call, 1-800-323-5336. Twitter, hashtag Facebook, Marsha, whatever you need. As also, if you heard him mention that book, what's the name of that booklet again?
The Patient Advocate's Guide.
The Patient Advocate's Guide. You have to call me in order to get the book. Okay, but we'll put you in contact with Jim Schuster and make sure that you are, in the lineup to get one of those free booklets. And you'll follow the guide of that booklet and be able to contact Jim and find out more information. You need to know this, ladies and gentlemen. I need to know it, so I'm going to have a book. Will you bring a book next time?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, well, without further ado, you know who I am. I'm your host, Marsha Florence, and what do I always say? If you know a person with a disability or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. I'm your host. Thank you.